All right, thank you for tuning in today. Let's get right into it because I am so far behind, it's not even funny. So I have been running, but the good thing of it is that I have been getting some films out. We've got some cooking episodes. I got another one coming out tonight. And with that being said, I'm also really excited to tell you that I got a really cool segment at the end of this video of my artistic friend. She just got back from Istanbul, Turkey, and she has an amazing art thing going for her. She's like my artistic rival, my artistic inspiration, you know, all the good jive of artist things. Yes. So I got her show to share with you. I'll tell you, you know, she put some stuff into perspective, makes me reconsider some narratives. Well, I guess I didn't realize that for a woman to be a cowgirl and do like riding and bull riding, it was outlawed at one point. Crazy, huh? But yeah, so we're going to show you that and we're going to learn about some art. So stay tuned for that. As with my other avenues of doing things, my Japanese coming along good. Let's see. Ohayo gozaimasu, genki desu ka? So, there's that. Yeah, also the yen is starting to strengthen against the dollar, which is wow. That being said, my hotels that I booked cheap are going up now because the yen is strengthening, and well, I didn't pay for them. I pay at the property. So, in other words, they're costing me more than I thought they would. But we'll see how that goes. Another news, still working out, going to the gym. In fact, I'm just waiting for my brother to get home so that we can head to the gym. And if I can't, I'm probably going to go to my gym instead of his. Not a big fan of his gym. But anyway, nonetheless, we're going to get to the gym here in a little bit. But I wanted to stop in, do my video. I'm like 2 days behind, so it is now 41 days until we leave for Japan. Crazy, huh? Where did the time go? That being said, we're still planning. I got some really cool stuff to show you. It's around here somewhere. Let's see here. Yes, the maps. Can't ever get too many maps. So I wanted to show you this guy real quick. This is what, like, and I'll give you a better example here later on a different episode, but this is what you get in class to study at home. Yeah, it is. Yes, what you get to study at home, you know, the lesson plan, the ideas of what you're going to be doing, what you're going to cover. And then you get to the exam, and this is the exam. And you're like, what is this? So this is just a better, here, let's get some light on that. Yeah. So this is just a better rendition of the metro, Tokyo Metro, and what you will. But yeah, I always thought that that was a great example of what, you know, the teacher covers and what they don't cover, and they expect you to know. So that's always fun. But still, I'm also using, where is it at? My phrase book. Here it is. Oh, the monitor's coming on. So this is the Japanese book that I've been like using extensively, trying to study some different things. My biggest things is to order coffee and shopping. Also getting around, because I know that like when I do get into the subways and I get lost, I'll just hold the ticket up and go up to someone and say "Sumimasen," and then point and go "wah wah." No, I won't say "wah wah," but I like, you know, like, hey, is this the actual station I'm supposed to be at or the platform? And then they'll usually correct me, and so it's all good. It's all gravy from there. But yeah, so there's that. And I'm still working with the book that I showed you in the beginning, trying to make some notes, trying to draw some pictures to help me along on my journey. So there's that. But yeah, so I got a lot going on. It's incredibly challenging to work a full-time job, you know, be an artist. I got two, oh yeah, that reminds me. I have 2 commissioned pieces of artwork that I got to start. I haven't even started them. They're due in, well, they're Christmas presents actually. Actually, one's due in November, so that's really just around the corner. Yeah. But whatever, you know, I like living on the edge and living by the seat of my pants, so to speak, as the old phrase going. But yeah, I'm glad that you're here. Let's watch the segment with Gabby, and her artistic, or I should say, let's watch the segment with Gabriella and her artistic movement and see what it's all about. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll jump right into that now.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Emily. For those of you who don't know, my name is Gabrielle, and I was born and raised in Casper, Wyoming. However, some events brought me to live in Istanbul, Turkey, where I've been for the past 10 years. So it was in Istanbul where Emily and I met the first time in 2013, and we have been friends and collaborating together ever since. However, this is our first show, so we're really happy to have all of you here. All right, so for this presentation, I'm just going to go through some paintings that are in the show, tell you how they're rooted in the theme of the exhibition, and talk also a little bit about the process and materials that I use. So on this wall opposite from me now, you can see 5 paintings or 5 reproductions of paintings. These are from my rodeo series. So I was commissioned by the Wyoming Symphony Orchestra to create a series of 5 paintings depicting a ballet that they were going to be performing. The ballet was entitled Rodeo, so that's where the series, the title of the series came from. And this is Rodeo 1. Go ahead and switch. So you may notice the backgrounds are quite colorful and patterned. So for the backgrounds of these paintings, I used marbled paper. So if you're familiar with marbling paper, or as it's called in Turkish, ebru, this is a technique that's very famous in Turkish culture, and it's something that I have been experimenting with and learning for the past few years. Yeah, I think we could switch. Sorry, grab some water. So this is Rodeo 2. Okay. And you may notice in these also, the background is not just a flat surface, but it has a wave type quality. So as you're painting on the surface of the water, you can transfer the painting onto the paper, and that can either be directly transferred or you can create a wave type pattern. And this is Rodeo 3, the only direct, straightforward portrait that I did. So all of these paintings are essentially following the story of the cowgirl character in the rodeo. And you may also notice in this one and some others that the pattern of the paper comes through into the figure sometimes. So you can see a little bit on her shirt and also the collar of her shirt. And I think we can switch. This is Rodeo 4, so the background's a little bit different in this one. It's a flatter background, and you can also see the pattern of the shirt emphasizing the ebru technique, or the marbled paper in the background. Okay, and this is Rodeo 5, so in the last scene of the ballet, the cowgirl is depicted in a very flowing red dress. So for most of these paintings, I was actually looking at historical references, mostly women in rodeo from the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. But it wasn't until I started this painting that I started looking at different references, more specifically women in rodeo in Mexico. So we mostly think of rodeo as an American sport and an American event, but it actually has very strong roots in Mexico as well. And then after this project was done, I continued with the theme of women on horseback, especially women riding bucking broncos or rearing horses. And that is because during my research and during the whole project, I was discovering that women were actually the stars of the show in rodeo, especially in the 1920s and 30s. So people were coming to see these women riding bucking broncos and even bucking bulls. However, later on, this activity was seen as inappropriate for women, and they were outlawed from rodeo completely. I think we can stay on this one a little bit longer. So when they were brought back into rodeo, they were excluded to certain events such as barrel racing, and they were also much more feminized, such as rodeo princesses or rodeo queens. So that's like why I like to depict women on horseback, such as this. Okay. Here's Rodeo 7. I finished this right before the exhibition. Again, this one is on marbled paper, and you can see the design of the paper coming through a little bit on her skirt as well. And I think we can switch. And there is the paper marbling process again. That's actually that painting that we saw before and the design before I transferred it onto the paper. And just to give you an idea of what the paper looks like before the painting is applied, all of these are acrylic ink on directly painted onto the marbled paper. But you can see how the paper has an effect such as folded fabric or folded paper. So really a three-dimensional effect, which I really loved. Okay. All right, and that brings me to this piece here. It's in the conference room, right?
Or boardroom.
Boardroom, sorry. It's in the boardroom. I think it's one of the largest pieces in the show. I just wanted to focus on it because it has a little bit of an interesting history in terms of how it came to be, kind of piece by piece, which is the way that I don't usually work. So for this piece, I was actually doing a month-long residency in Lisbon, Portugal. So I'm often drawing inspiration from places where I'm currently working or currently based. So I noticed that the original idea of just having horses moving across the scene wasn't enough. I wanted to put something into the sky to give it a little bit of a surrealist effect. So during this residency program, I was going around the city creating plein air paintings and drawings, which you can see on the right. This I did in the Lisbon Botanical Gardens, and the image on the left is just one of the photographs that I took there. So I think we can move to the next slide. You can see I started integrating it. Some of you may know that I often include flowers or floral motifs and patterns into my work, and this is just because floral patterns and flowers of all kinds are a really strong symbol for me growing up in Wyoming. And here's the original image that I used for the drawing. This is Eaton's Horse Drive in Sheridan, Wyoming. So I was also there for a month-long artist residency. That was during the month of May in 2021. And if you've been in Sheridan during that month, you might know that this particular ranch moves their horses from one location to the other. And you can see horses moving across the landscape. And I happened to be there during that time. So that's how that whole piece came to be. And then moving on to this piece here, again, I just wanted to tell you the history of it because it's a little bit different from my paintings that I usually do. On the left, we see a very large, half-completed painting of a cowgirl riding atop a bowl, smoking a cigarette. So I started this painting because I was invited into a group show in Istanbul, and I began painting on a very large piece of paper on which I had done a rubbing in Istanbul, Turkey. Or not Istanbul, sorry, Cappadocia. Some of you are familiar with the area. And I started the painting and then showed it to the curator and the gallery. However, the painting, even though it was only halfway done, was quickly omitted from the show because the activity of the woman was seen as inappropriate. So I brought the painting back to my studio, and because I was so upset, I removed the paper, tore it off, and the cowgirl still remained smoking the cigarette. So I pasted her onto another canvas. You can see that in the exhibition, and kept it kind of unfinished just due to the nature of how the whole piece came to be. And I included it in this show specifically because it was excluded and censored. Seemed very fitting considering the whole theme of women and cowgirls and rodeo events in general. And what happened with the original canvas? So I started another painting on top. You can still see the rubbing in the bottom right and the upper left. This is in Kermit's office. And I decided to do a rearing horse because alongside working with cowgirls and female characters, I also like to work with equestrian imagery and symbolism. And in the background, you can see a building, which is actually in Istanbul, right next door to my studio. Some of you may know I love to focus on architecture. I've done a lot of architecture in the past, especially this kind of dilapidated, falling down architecture that's so present in a place such as Istanbul. And I loved the dichotomy of the horse about to jump up as the building is falling down. So here's the painting about to be completed in my studio. And that one was accepted into a show, by the way. And then moving on, oh, this girl is here actually. Maybe you'll get to meet her after the talk. This is my niece, Isabel. She's often featured along with my other nieces and nephews in several of my paintings. As I was working with the idea of women in these rodeo events and women of the West in general, I chose to do this painting of her. This is after she won a trophy in a children's event in the rodeo. And I just love the way her clothes were covered in mud, the way she's standing, looking very confidently at the viewer holding the trophy. And as an aside, I have a lot of love for art history, thanks to Valerie. And I have a lot of love for Renaissance and Baroque paintings. So I'm often drawing inspiration from artists such as Caravaggio. This is a Caravaggio painting, The Rest on the Flight into Egypt. And my favorite character in this painting are not the central characters, which you see in the foreground, but in fact the donkey kind of hiding in the background there with his eye peeking out. And if you look at the painting closely, you can see a little eye peeking out behind Isabel. That's just a little reference to Caravaggio. There's the painting halfway completed, and the painting on the left. Great. So alongside working with traditional materials such as oil and gold leaf, I also work on found materials such as old book covers or pieces of paper or even trash. So living in a place such as Istanbul, it's so old and so layered, and there's a wealth of antique markets, flea markets, places that you can visit and find very interesting objects. And I like to incorporate these objects into my art. So on the right side, you see 5 paperback books translated into Turkish, and I chose them both for their covers, the names, and the design. So I turned these into 3 paintings, which you can also see in the exhibition. This is the first one, entitled Europa. So Emily actually posed for me for this miniature painting. And this was painted with oil directly onto the book cover. If you're unfamiliar with the story of Europa and the bowl, Europa was a young princess who was seduced and abducted by Zeus, who turned himself into a bull and carried her from what is modern-day Turkey to what is now Crete. So there are a few reasons why I love this story or am drawn to this story. First of all, it takes place in modern-day Turkey, a place where we met and where I'm still currently living. And also in classical painting and in sculpture, Europa is depicted as being very vulnerable, very sensualized, and very out of control, and she almost becomes the secondary character in the painting. So on the left, you can see my modern day version of Europa, looking very confidently at the viewer, and with the bull being more of the secondary character or supporting character. There are 2 more in this series. This is Ivan, my nephew. The original title of the book was Mutlu Prince. Anybody know what that means? Emily does. It means happy prince. So I just chose him as the model, and I, for the other 2 paintings, wanted to have an animal as a supporting character. So this is him and his dog. And here's Isabel again. So the original title of the book was Isabel, so she was always meant for this painting. And for her animal, I chose a meadowlark, which you can see on the left. And then finally, throughout the show, you can see a number of sketches, drawings. These are sometimes preliminary sketches for paintings. Sometimes they're just practice. I think we can move on from there. But I always like to include them in my exhibitions because they're so essential to my daily practice as an artist, and also for Emily as well. We've spent years traveling and drawing together, doing paintings and drawings on location. This is a way for us to document our experiences, interact with the world, interact with communities, and also show people all of the practice that it takes to complete these larger, more finished works. And there's Emily and I painting together in Istanbul. And finally, I would like to thank everybody for coming and listening. Tomorrow we have a trunk show here in the space. So these carpets are actually for sale. There will be more here, and there will be handmade jewelry by Emily and also some other objects that I brought back from Turkey. So that is from 4 to 7 p.m. tomorrow. And I'll just leave it there with our social media so you can jot that down. And I'll leave this slide up if anybody has any questions. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so as you can see that she is very well accomplished. She's from my hometown. We went to high school together, and now she's rocking it in Istanbul with a lot of residencies all over the world, including her hometown and hometown area that she does. So it's really cool. I love supporting her. I love buying some of her art pieces. Some of them are just wowing. In fact, you saw one of them as a tapestry hanging up behind me in one of my earlier videos. I'll show you a picture of some of the other things that I have, or not things. I will show you some pictures now of the art that I have purchased from her. I am a big fan of tea, a big fan of coffee, and so these ones I just had to have. So without further ado, there's that. But hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry that I'm behind by 2 days and that this is a little helter-skelter put together. But we're making the dream happen. You know, progress is still progress. Can't deny that. So as for our next food segment, we're going to be doing 2 eggs over easy and hope to God they turn out better than the last one. That was just a train wreck, but a lot of fun. We're also, tonight, we're going to do an omelette du fromage. As for people who don't speak French, that is the cheese omelette. Actually, yeah, we're going to do the cheese omelet, Greek style. We're going to add pesto and mozzarella cheese, onions, and mushrooms. So tune in for that and learn how to make a awesome omelet. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. This is the Artist Abstract, out. See you next time.